Hi, everyone, and welcome to Boston Balling. I'm your host, Gabby Hurlbut. Hope everybody's having a good start to their week this week. A lot going on in sports right now. I mean, we have NFL schedule release tomorrow, which is super exciting. NHL playoffs start this weekend. NBA playoffs are right around the corner, and baseball is in full swing. So it's definitely a good time to be sports fans and an exciting time to be watching sports right now. So I hope everybody is doing well and having a good Tuesday. So I am pleased to introduce my guest for this week, one of my friends. He has a very successful podcast as well, which I'll have him talk about in a little bit. I was on his show at one point too, which was fun. His name's Bobby Thompson. How are you doing?
What's going on, Gabby? Like I said before, I'm really excited to be on Boston Balling. I mean, like once you asked me to be on this, I was ecstatic, couldn't wait. I'm like, that's when I knew I made it when I'm on Boston Balling. I love like I said, love the logo, love everything, love all your interviews with Doug Kide. You had Mike Reese, you had all the big guys on there. You Evan Lazar, I think you had too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
yeah.
The fact that I'm being on here, this is awesome.
I appreciate it. I am very, very flattered. Yeah, I've definitely had some great conversations with people. Evan Lazar actually went to the same college as me. He graduated before me, so I didn't really know him in college. But once he found out that I also went to Ithaca College, he was more than happy to be on the show.
Oh, of course, rightfully so. Two alums from the same college, couldn't agree more.
Yeah, it was fun. That was a great week. But I appreciate you joining me, and this should be. I'm really excited to talk some Patriots with you because they're actually fun to talk about again now, I think. But before we get into that, can you just tell people a little bit about how you got into sports and just talk a little bit about your show?
Absolutely. So throughout my whole life, I've been huge into sports, and the one constant with me has been the Patriots, always, since I was a little kid, since Drew Bledsoe was there. That's how long it's been. I'm only 28, but seeing him, and then when Tom got the starting job, Tom Brady to me is a god to me, no matter where he is. Everything he's done for the franchise, just how great he is, how he conducted himself, I just loved it. I just love everything about the Patriots. If you ask anybody, including my podcast co-host and best friend Julian Gallardi, he'll tell you it's Patriots or die for me. That's the way it is. I have it tattooed on my arm, the Patriots logo. That's how much I love it. And my whole life, I always knew I wanted to get into sports. I knew I wasn't good enough to play professionally, unfortunately, but I wanted to.
Cool.
Yeah. But I really wanted to be a sports broadcaster. That's what I've always wanted to be. I wanted to be the guy doing play-by-play. One of the guys I looked up to is a really good friend of mine is Ian Eagle, who does it for CBS, does it for the Yes Network for the Nets, does NFL on Sundays on CBS. Really, really great. I love his energy. It just inspired me. And I went to a broadcasting camp he had too, and that just inspired me to want to do it even more. And
cool.
As I got older, I really got excited and really wanted to be like Adam Schefter. Really, I just loved him breaking stories. And I wanted to be the guy to be like, you know what? I'm going to go to Bobby Thompson for Bobby. What do you hear about this? Is this true? And you know what? You're going to get a lot of haters. I will tell you this, especially if you're in the world of Twitter, you're going to get so many haters that I've been called fake Schefter. I've been called wannabe Rappaport. I mean, comes with the territory, but they're guys I look up to. I'm not striving to be the next Adam Schefter, the next Ian Rappaport. I'm just trying to be the first Bobby Thompson. So I'm just trying to, pave my own way. They set the tone about how it's done, and I just want to do it the way they do it, but I want to do it my own personal way. But getting into a podcast is, once they got very popular, Julian and I have been close since we were in high school. We were friendly, but out of high school, that's when we're like family, Julian and I. So we always talked about a podcast. We talked about it for like a year. And then one day we're just like, you know what, let's do it. So we came up with the name G&T Sports Talk. We did that. We started out with every sport, and then we sat down and we decided, you know what, we're going to focus on, and I know you're not going to like this, is Yankees. and
which
and
I
football.
do.
Yeah, you do, and football. So, and he's a Jets fan, which is disgusting. We all know, but it's really fun. We focus on baseball and football, and we love it. We feel like we've been doing a good job, and we were picked up by Grunt Talks MLB, which we converted to Grunt Talks GT Sports, and Darren Klein, who promoted us and got us in, does a very good job behind the scenes and really sets us up for success. And it all worked out. And right now we're just, paving the way. We have a monetized YouTube channel now. It took a lot of hard work. The podcast doing exceptionally well. And the next move for us is, trying to get access into stadiums, to get on the field before the game, to get in the press box. And that's the next goal. We're just keep grinding. I know with me, since I'm in Florida, because that's where I live now, can't go up to Patriots camp, because if I was in New Jersey, I would take a week off and go to Patriots camp all week and literally get as much coverage as I possibly can. But since I'm in Florida, I'll go to Bucs camp and I'll just focus on Brady, because I know all of us Patriot fans still want to see what's going on down there. So I'll definitely do that. But that's basically where, for me, it started. In middle school, I knew what I really, really wanted to do. Then when I got out of high school, I really wanted to be like an insider. I still want to be a broadcaster, but what I'm doing right now, it's really exciting, and I love it.
Yeah, I always see you on Twitter. You're like, you're tweeting stuff about like breaking news and things like that, which is really cool.
Yeah, anytime, and I always give the credit to who tweeted it. I just tweet it back as well, and really dive deep into stories. If during free agency, I didn't sleep. I was up for 4 days straight all night, because stories break at 2, 3 in the morning. And I didn't want to be that guy waking up 4 hours later from a story break and it being like, oh, we know. I wanted to be there through everything. And free agency was a very good time, especially to be a Patriots fan.
Yes, it was. It was a very exciting time for us, and just all the moves that the Patriots were making. It was just a very fun time for Patriots fans, and I think a lot of people would agree that even this upcoming season is going to be a lot more of an exciting time than last season was in general. So that's awesome.
Absolutely, 100%. Everything the Patriots did, adding the 2 best tight ends in free agency.
Yeah, that was impressive that they pulled off both of those.
Hey, it's going to be like Gronk and Hernandez again. That's what we're trying to do, and that's where the success was. And the offense is going to be run through the tight end again, and we all know how that worked out.
Yep, we all saw that be very successful. We're very familiar with that tactic. So it's going to be fun to see that again, and just see how a lot of these new players kind of mesh with the offense, because I think that this was an offense, as we know, that there wasn't really a whole lot of weapons for Cam last year, and just being able to have him set up more for success this year, I think is step one. Because while we're even on the subject of quarterback and the Patriots and the draft, I don't think that, or I realistically don't see Mac Jones starting right away. I think that, knowing Belichick, unless he significantly outplays Cam in camp, which he might, I still see him sitting him at least for the beginning of the season and starting the season off with Cam and kind of see how that goes.
Absolutely. And to go back to how you started is last year, the Patriots offense had no weapons. There was none. Yeah. The best weapon we had was Julian Edelman, and he hurt his knee when he left. Jacoby Myers, who I'm gonna be honest with you. In 2019, I thought Jacoby Myers was not that good. I questioned Belichick why he even made the team, and now I'm just eating my words, because the guy just makes plays. He really does. He's very, very good in the slot. He runs great routes, great hands. He really was a bright spot. Damian Harris also as well in the run game, but the Patriots had no money. They had nothing last year, and they knew that. And Bill Belichick knew that this team was not going to be competitive. He tried to make it as best. And going 7-9 with arguably, in my opinion, the worst offense in football last year, I'm actually impressed. I really am. Because, Gabby, you could agree with me. Seeing us at 2-5, that we're not used to this. I was legitimately pissed off. I'm like, this is disgusting watching Get Up, watching First Take, and seeing the Patriots 2-5, and I'm just looking at my wife, and she goes, "What's wrong?" I say, "This is unacceptable. This is just unacceptable. I have not seen the Patriots be this bad since 2000, and
Yeah,
I will not tolerate it." And I say it, we're spoiled.
we are.
From 2001 to 2019, the Patriots missed the playoffs twice. That's it,
Yeah.
twice. And watching the Bills beat the crap out of us when Brady was with us, and they never beat us, maybe 3 or 4 times, made me sick to my stomach. Seeing the Dolphins beat us, well, they always play us.
Yeah, they always find a way to win one of those games.
Always bothers me. And then honestly, I hate losing games to the Jets. I just hate it.
Yeah, I know.
Especially living in New Jersey, I hated it because the next day I would hear Julie and all my friends who were Jets and Giants fans. I'm just like, you guys are the most annoying fan base I bet. But the Jets fan base, I will give credit where credit's due. They are very loyal, and they do deal with a lot of heartache. So give that a little shout out. But yeah, had no offense. We go into free agency. We spend. Belichick planned for it, and that's what Schefter said too. He planned for this.
Yeah, he knew that this past season was not going to be a year where they were going to really contend with anybody. And he knew that going into free agency this year, he had a lot of room to work with and a lot of cap space. And he took advantage of that. I mean, rightfully so, because he knew that he had to really fix this roster in this offseason. And he knew this was a very important offseason for the team.
Absolutely. And he knew when COVID hit and the cap went down, and the Patriots had the 3rd most cap. There was no bidding wars. It was Patriots or bust. Every 2 minutes you saw Jonnu Smith signs with the Patriots, Hunter Henry, Gottschall, Jalen Mills, Nelson Aguilar,
yeah.
Bourne, all these guys coming to the team, bringing back Van Noy. I'm pumped about that. Was awesome. Bringing back Trent Brown. It was I saw a meme. Oh, I'm signing with the Patriots next. It was just what.
I think I made that joke too. I was like, when is he calling me?
Yep. It's just, it was a great time, and Belichick had a plan, and everybody now is sitting back saying, damn, we let Belichick get 2 of the best young, versatile tight ends in football. It's going to be a problem. But going back to your point with Mac Jones, the pick, I absolutely loved it. I loved it. I felt Patriots, what their offense is, they want a pure pocket passer. And obviously Cam's not that. Cam gives us a different dynamic that we haven't seen in 20 years. And he's healthy, we could see what he does. But Mac Jones is that guy who could stand in the pocket. He's smart. The system he was in Alabama is equivalent to what Belichick is.
Yep.
It was perfect. And when you see Mac Jones walking down, strutting his stuff to get the draft hat, literally, and I knew this, seeing when Belichick, you remember he walks out on the field in Detroit.
Yeah, when they put those 2 videos together of both of them walking.
It was hilarious. I'm like, this is just a match made in heaven. And Mac Jones is the type of guy who's, first off, he's excited to be here. And when he gets his chance, which I'm going to tell you this, in my opinion, he's pick number 15. Cam has to watch out. I'm telling you, if Cam struggles, which last year, I'm not going to put all the blame on him. It was the weapons. It was the offensive line. It was COVID. This year, I expect when the first 3 games of the year, you saw him. He was lighting it up. He was.
Yeah. And if we got that Cam all season, had he not gotten COVID, I mean, I think they would have been a playoff team had we seen that all season.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. And you know what? The Patriots got dealt the bad deck of cards, and they played the hands they were dealt. And in the draft, you know what? They had so much draft capital, pick number 15. You know what? They kind of it's like a sacrifice a year, and you get a franchise quarterback. I mean, you know what? It's the price you're willing to pay. And I'm just going to tell you, Mac Jones in camp, I think he picks up the offense well. With this, when you said that you don't think he's going to play, I don't think he's going to play in the beginning. I think if Cam struggles on like week 4 and 5, then you might see.
That's what I'm leaning towards too.
Yeah,
I'm completely on board with you with that. I agree. I think that I do see Cam being the starter to start the season.
Of course.
And then
100%.
see how that goes. And then if he starts to struggle a bit, then I wouldn't be surprised if partway through the season we see Mac starting games. I don't think it's completely out of possibility for us to see him starting games this season. I do think that a lot of it's going to be based on how Cam performs. And if Cam starts to struggle, then I do see him maybe benching him for Mac a few games in.
Oh, yeah, 100%. And if Cam struggles like last year on slant routes, he's throwing them in the dirt, which is unacceptable as a NFL quarterback, then Mac's got to come in. And I know you're going to get some people saying, oh, put Stidham in. I don't even want to hear Stidham.
No.
I don't want to even hear that anymore.
I'd be good with never hearing his name again, to be honest.
Me too, 100%. I'm telling you, if the Patriots went with Stidham last year to start the season, Patriots, I'm going to be honest with you, probably went 2-14. I'll be honest.
Oh, yeah. I think so, too.
And you know what? If Cam struggles and Mac comes in, I'm just going to say this. If Cam struggles and Mac has to come in, Cam's not getting his job back. That's my prediction. He will not get the job back, and it's going to be Mac's. It's going to be like a Bledsoe Brady thing. And that's another thing. If Cam somehow gets hurt because Cam has a history of injuries, Mac Jones comes in, it's over. Cam will not get his job back unless Mac gets hurt. But I think the Patriots, and Robert Kraft says this, I say this line all the time, the Patriots now have a luxurious problem on their hands at quarterback. Now they're fine. If Cam struggles, you got a young guy, and always a rookie. And Bell, you know what? Sometimes you don't want to play a rookie. He was picked number 15. He's going to play at some point.
Yeah.
Listen, when Patty Mahomes was picked, I don't think – I forgot if it was 15th overall when he was picked or something like that. They started him the last game of the year, and then he took off. I think Mac Jones with us can take off. This offense is built for him. It's perfect. The Patriots, in my opinion, I think we still need to add another receiver and Julio, because Julio Jones is available. So I think that would be perfect. But I'm really excited to see what's in store. I can't wait for Patriots football. You have no idea.
I miss it. I miss it a lot.
I miss it more than anything. Literally every Sunday waking up, and I have a jersey. I wear Patriots socks, Patriots sneakers, Patriots shorts, shirt, you name it. I have a ritual that I wear every game. A different jersey, I might add, and different shorts and stuff. So
you're going to have to send me a picture of all of that whole attire this upcoming football season when games start, because I need to see that.
Oh, you'll see. I'm going to post a hype video during the first game of the year, and I'll send you a video and all that. And during big games, this is really embarrassing to admit, I actually wear eye black too. Like I go all so
you really go all out.
Yeah, I'll tell you a funny story. During the Super Bowl in 2018 when we played the Rams, which was a really boring game,
But I'm happy. I'm happy it ended in a win for the Patriots. But I mean, gosh, the lack of offense in that game.
Oh my God. What happened to me was I get so into these games. I sit on the edge of my seat, and literally my wife took my blood pressure, because I used to watch games at her house in New Jersey, because every time I watch games at her house, they win. So I'm a superstitious guy like that. I'm like, I'm going to your house and we're watching the game.
Yeah.
So they took my blood pressure. It was like 201/1 something. They're like, if you don't calm down, you're going to the hospital. I'm like, how am I going to calm down? It's a Super Bowl. And they're just like, we'll turn it off. I'm like, no, you're going to make my blood pressure go up even more. So you need to keep the game on. And yeah, my blood pressure was through the roof. I didn't sleep that night. I was wired that night.
Yeah, I'm sure that's awesome. I mean, that game had me on the edge of my seat the whole time for sure. I mean, every Patriots game usually does, but
me too.
But that game, I mean, that was such a nerve-wracking game and super stressful, and I do not like that feeling at all.
No, me neither. I'll be honest, I like the blowouts. We don't have to worry about anything.
Yeah, then you can just relax and sit there and enjoy the game without having to stress all the time about them blowing it or something.
Yeah, and I'm the type of guy too who doesn't want to miss a play. Sometimes my wife will be like, "Oh, I'll pause it. No, do not pause it. We're watching it live. I'm not missing a play."
Yeah, you can't be behind either, because I've been in that situation before where it's like, oh, should I just record this and watch the rest later? But it's like there's no point, because I would get a score update on my phone anyway, so I would know what the score is before I finish, and there's just no point in that, because then I wouldn't enjoy the rest of the game because I know the outcome already.
Yeah,
You can't not watch it live.
And especially a Patriots game. Every time the Patriots are on, it's all I want to watch. Like literally, like when Sunday hits, or if it's a Monday night game or a Thursday night game, that whole day, that's all I'm thinking of. That's my number one focus. Is like, oh, I look at the injury report. Like, I'll be honest. Like, if we're playing, like, I'll give you an example. We're playing the Chiefs. I'm looking at that injury report. I'm like, okay, Tyreek Hill, he sat out Wednesday's practice with the hamstring injury. Is he going to play today? And then he's active. I'm like, damn. Yeah. I'm that type of guy. I'm like, all right, who's playing, who's not playing, who's in, and even the backups. I like look that up too. I'm like, all right, who's this guy? Can he give us problems? Like that. That's the type of guy that I am. Like I look into that stuff. Like this year during the season, I'm going to go more in depth and with Patriots football. Like that's what I'm actually going to focus my mindset on now, is getting a lot of. And you see Julian do a lot with the Yankees like that. That's what I'm going to do with the Patriots. You're going to see me go all in on Patriots football, and especially. I cannot wait to go back to Foxborough. I miss Gillette Stadium.
I know, me too.
I don't miss parking in Gillette Stadium because you can't get out of there.
No.
But I miss it. And I say this to everybody. Boston's my favorite city. I'm born and raised in New Jersey. I'm a Yankees fan. I'll be honest, I am. And everyone says
unfortunately.
To me, unfortunately.
But yeah, I mean, it's going to be fun to be able to have full crowds at stadiums this year for the season. And I agree with a lot of what you said about the Patriots. I think that they are in a much better place now for success than they were. I mean, drastically better. It's even if Cam is the same Cam that he was last year, they still will not be worse because now he has more weapons. You can't really get worse than they were last year with the circumstances that they had last year. So even if Cam is not that great to start the season, then like you said, we have this guy named Mac Jones now who can step in and fill that role. And I think a lot of people during the draft were hoping that the Patriots weren't going to land Mac Jones. And a lot of people were like, well, I wanted Justin Fields, or like I wanted Trey Lance. And as soon as San Fran ended up drafting Trey Lance, that's when I had a feeling that we were going to end up with Mac Jones. Because Mac was the only quarterback from those top quarterbacks drafted early. He was the only one that I realistically saw even falling to 15. Because I said, unless the 49ers draft Mac Jones, I don't think anybody else above the Patriots is going to take Mac Jones. So that's why I was like, okay, like it really does depend on who the 49ers draft. Because it almost makes me wonder if had the 49ers drafted Mac Jones with their pick, which was who Kyle Shanahan wanted originally, and that's what he said. Had they drafted Mac Jones, you have to wonder if Bill would have still drafted a quarterback at 15 or not. Because in my head, I'm like, yeah, I mean, he knows that he might not have this opportunity to draft a quarterback of the future again, because when are they going to have the 15th pick again? Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it's not like Bill to draft a quarterback just for the sake of drafting somebody. So you have to wonder if he did that because he specifically felt like Mac was the guy, and that had the 49ers drafted Mac Jones, maybe he wouldn't have drafted a quarterback at 15 or stayed in that position. Maybe he would have traded back in the draft.
Well, I'll tell you this. I hate the trade backs and the trading out of the first round. It's really irritating, but I think
he does that all the time though. So yeah, I was sitting there like, I wonder if he's going to trade out of this pick.
Once the Patriots came up, I'm just like, I was watching the clock. I'm like, don't do it. Don't do it. Please don't. Yeah. But yeah, when the 49ers took Trey Lance, I think when they made that trade, who they picked, that determined a lot of other teams drafting as well. Yeah. There was like a domino effect after that pick. Exactly. 100%. It was. With me, I'll be honest. I really liked Justin Fields. I felt like he was a very athletic guy, had a great arm. And I just wanted one of the quarterbacks. And when Mac fell that was who they were going with. And Belichick liked him since day one. Josh McDaniels was high on him. And when you saw Josh McDaniels go to his second pro day, that tells you something. He really, really wanted this guy. And if, for instance, we didn't get Fields or Mac Jones and Mac Jones was taken, the Patriots, I think, would have gotten Kellen Mond.
That was another name that was being thrown out there as a possibility for New England.
Yeah, Kellen Mond was a guy who Belichick and McDaniels really liked. And if they didn't have their shot at the top 5 quarterbacks, they were going to go after Kellen Mond. Or an underrated pick was Davis Mills.
Yeah.
Who went to the Texans. That was another guy to watch out for. But once Mac fell to 15, they were going to stick there. Jeff Howe also said on The Athletic, he said that if Mac Jones was picked before they picked at 15, because they were not going to trade up. That was never in the question.
Yeah.
It was too rich. They were going to stay at the pick and pick Zaven Collins, the linebacker who went 16 to the Cardinals. So, and then in the second round, I think they would have traded up and gotten Kellen Mond. That's what I think they really would have done. But other than that, with the quarterback, that's what they did.
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head when you said out of all of those quarterbacks, I really do think that Mac Jones has the best chance of succeeding in New England in particular, as opposed to had any of those other quarterbacks come here. Because I just think based on the system he's coming from and the type of quarterback he is and the type of offense that the Patriots run, I really think that out of all of those quarterbacks, New England is where he needed to land, because I think that it's just a good system for him to be in. And I think had we had Justin Fields or any of those other quarterbacks instead of him, Trey Lance, I mean, you name it, I don't know that they would be able to have as much success here with the Patriots as Mac Jones will have. And I think it's because of all of the circumstances and the type of quarterback that he is and what the Patriots need in that offense. So I'm happy with what we ended up with. I know there are some people that still are not high on Mac Jones, but I'd be more confident with him right now starting the season than I would be with Cam, because and that just kind of shows how confident I am in him in this system. Obviously, that's not going to happen because, like we said, he needs time to develop and learn the system. But once he does end up starting, I think that we're going to see some success from him. And I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we see him win some Super Bowls here in New England. I'm excited to see how he performs, and hopefully we get a taste of that this year. I mean, obviously I want Cam to play well, because I've just been trying to give Cam the benefit of the doubt so much after last season. So I'm excited to see how he does with the weapons that he has now. But I think if, partway through the season, if we do see Mac starting, I'm very, very excited to see what he brings to the table.
Absolutely. I agree 100%.
How do you think that they made out with the rest of their draft picks? Because overall, I think it was a good draft for them. I think they addressed other areas that needed to be addressed too, and they got some steals later on in the second and third rounds. I mean, those picks were sneaky picks too, because those were players that were anticipated to be drafted earlier. I mean, Ronnie Perkins is an absolute steal. I could not believe he was still available. I kind of forgot he was even still available. Then they announced his name, and I was like, wow, that is definitely a steal for the Patriots right now.
I love their draft. I think I'm not going to give them an A+, because I'm not going to sound like a homer. I'm going to give them an A. I think they did very well. Mac Jones pick, home run, A+.
Yeah.
Trading up to get the best defensive tackle in Christian Barmore, who he's equivalent, who they said he's not Aaron Donald like, he's Ndamukong Suh like. I will take that any day. I love his tape. A+. Ronnie Perkins, at first I'm like, who's this guy Ronnie Perkins? Watching his tape, the guy's an absolute stud. He doesn't stop.
Oh, he's very good. Yeah.
He's a guy on the edge that keeps his containment that we're going to use. Patriots struggled getting pressure on the quarterback, adding Matthew Judon in free agency and getting this guy Ronnie Perkins and having Kyle Van Noy back, and especially Chase Winovich, we're in great shape.
This defense is going to be scary.
Oh, and we have the best cornerback in football coming back. Our secondary still great. Our safeties, and getting back to it with that. The only question mark I had in our draft, in my opinion, was running back. When we got Ravondre Stevenson, I was like, okay, a running back? I mean, we're set.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, we're not bringing back Sony Michel. Sony Michel, other than 2018 when we won the Super Bowl with him, which I give him credit. We don't win the Super Bowl without him because he played tremendous.
Agreed.
But he can't stay healthy. He's not what he was in college. And Damian Harris is just a much better running back than he is.
Yeah.
And watching his tape, you see why we picked him. He's like LeGarrette Blount. And I think you could agree with me. If we get somebody like we love LeGarrette Blount for what he's done for us. So
yeah, I can agree with that.
Somebody like that, I think we're set. Adding another offensive tackle, William Sherman, very, very good, underrated, like his tape. Joshua Bledsoe, the safety. We had to do this because Devin McCourty's on the last year of his contract and he might retire next year.
Yeah, that was kind of a very much needed pick.
Yeah. And I like his tape too. He's great in coverage. He's a bruiser. He can hit you. We also have Kyle Duggar who could do a lot of things for us. And our last pick, adding a receiver, Trey Nixon, watching him, he's shifty. He can make some noise. And you know what? The last 7th round receiver we picked turned out pretty well. So we'll see what happens.
Exactly. Yeah. Because everybody, I mean, I was even thinking this too. I was like, at some point in this draft, he's going to have to draft a wide receiver. Mm-hmm. And I was just sitting there and more picks were going by and they weren't drafting a receiver. So I was like, okay, I'm sure he'll pick one. He just doesn't see it as much of a priority. And he wanted to snag some of these other defensive players first. And then they snagged him at the end. And like you said, I mean, we've seen this work out before. So I mean, I like the pick. I think that he's going to end up being very good. And I'm happy that they did draft a receiver, but I think you alluded to this earlier that I think that it still would be in their best interest to probably sign another receiver because I still feel like they could very much use that. And I think they did a good job of addressing a lot of the positions that needed to be addressed in this draft, but I think that would be in their best interest to sign somebody else.
100%. You hit the nail right on the head with this. The Patriots had a lot of weaknesses. Free agency filled basically all of them. The draft cleaned up all of it as well. The one glaring need, we still need some wide receivers. Nelson Aguilar's got speed. Really revived his career in Oakland. Oh my God, Vegas. I say that all the time. In Vegas.
I know. I'm still not fully used to it either.
I still call them the Oakland Raiders. It's just weird calling them the Vegas Raiders. But yeah, he really revived his career. We'll see what he does. Kendrick Bourne, who I absolutely love, very sneaky pick. Sneaky signing. Yeah. Very consistent wide receiver. Doesn't have the best speed, but he's got great hands, runs great routes, and could do a lot of things for you. But the one thing we still miss is a number one guy. We don't have that. We haven't had a number one receiver since Randy Moss. And
the good old days.
It kills me that it's been 11 years since we've had a number one receiver. And in my opinion, I'm not sure if you heard this, the Patriots were this close to getting A.J. Green this year, but he chose Arizona.
I saw that. Yeah, I saw that.
I think he would have been perfect with us. I really do. I think that would have been perfect. I even said it. I'm like, watch us sign A.J. Green. And then I saw that. I'm like, okay. Julio Jones, I don't care what it costs. We have the money. I don't care if he's 32 years old. The guy is still top 3 receiver. And for me, I will say this till I'm blue in the face, Gabby. I think Odell Beckham Jr. is destined to be a Patriot receiver. All this guy does in the offseason is talk about how much he loves Bill Belichick, how much he loves the Patriots, and how much he wanted to play with Brady. Obviously, Brady's gone. It's sad to still bring this up. Obviously, Brady's down here in Tampa, but he still loves Bill Belichick, and he's that type of guy who could open up a lot. If we had Odell Beckham, and in my opinion, I think the Patriots should have made this move when the Giants were trying to get rid of him years ago. I still think they should have did that, and honestly, if they did that, Brady would still be here right now. So
yeah,
it's
hard to think about it that way, but it is true.
It is true. If they kept Antonio Brown, admit all his struggles off the field, he would still be here too. Because that ticked off Brady too. And reading the book, The Dynasty, because literally I've been reading that a lot lately, and you see all the stuff that went down. Literally, some of the things I'm reading it and I'm looking up and I'm just like, that's all it took to keep Brady here. Just literally all you had to do was show him appreciation, really, and get him some weapons, because Brady had in 2019 he had nothing but getting off topic.
It's Brady, and he made it work, and got them to the playoffs because it's Tom Brady, and he was able to make it work anyway. But yeah, not giving him weapons was just the biggest thing, and he just got frustrated, and he was like, I'm out. And I don't blame him, because they had the opportunity to get him weapons and they just didn't. And so now they're at the point where they have all these weapons, but having that one extra piece like a Julio Jones, if they could sign Julio Jones, then I'd be very, very confident in looking at this roster for the upcoming season. I'd be very, very confident in what they have built if they can just get that one last piece.
I agree 100%. And another name to watch out, and when people watch this, if they're like, what is he talking about? Keep an eye out for Davante Adams, what happens with the Packers, because last night he basically said, if Aaron Rodgers leaves,
he wants
out. And Davante Adams is a free agent after this year. So if that's the case, I mean, Bill Belichick's not a guy who's going to want to trade for somebody on the last year of his contract. But when it's somebody like Davante Adams, who is the number one receiver in football, he is, I think that would just open up a lot of things. It just makes too much sense. The Patriots and Bill Belichick right now, he's still sitting back, figuring out what else to do. We still have almost $16 million in cap. Next year, the cap goes up. The Patriots are projected, and our good friend on Pat's cap, Miguel, would say, I think I'm going to go with, I think we're going to have around 30, 35 million, and just watch. Belichick will create more and more cap. The Patriots seasons of us getting back to it are coming back. It was 1 year. We had to sacrifice a year.
And it wasn't even that bad either. I mean, I look at like Jets fans, and I'm like, I don't know how you do it, because we all were struggling watching this past season, and it wasn't even that bad. They were barely under 500. They were about a couple plays away, really, from finishing the season over 500, and they were in the playoff hunt for most of the season, really, all the way up until the last few weeks of the season. They were in the playoff hunt, and they did not have much at all to work with. And so the fact that we were all super frustrated with that is because, we've been spoiled and we're not used to it, but they are headed in the right direction, and their future looks really bright too, with a lot of these young players that they're bringing in.
Absolutely. I think that, the Patriots, and going back real quick on the draft, is Bill Belichick and the Patriots scouting. Their drafts the past few years have not been successful. N'Keal Harry has been a bust.
Such a disappointment.
Yeah, it is. And I really like him too. And A.J. Brown was out there, and A.J. Brown wanted to be a Patriot. And don't be surprised at the Patriots, when he's a free agent, the Patriots go and sign him. That's just a Bill thing to do. But you see this year a change. This whole year changed. You don't see Bill Belichick go out and spend $165 million guaranteed in free agency like he did. And literally upgraded every position and got players we signed Jonnu Smith, which we all knew was going to happen. And then the next morning, he gets Hunter Henry.
I was laughing. I was like, this is just such a Bill Belichick thing to do right now.
When I saw that tweet, Adam Schefter, he's like, the Patriots are at it again, signing Hunter Henry. I was like, oh, you got to be kidding. I'm like, that is just a power move. Literally a team that desperately needed the tight end, like the Jaguars, who right now their starting tight end is Tim Tebow.
Yeah. Can you believe that?
I just can't believe it either. It's just.
It really says it all, really.
Yep.
About the Jaguars. It really does.
Yeah, it does. It really does. Living in the past. But
yeah, no, that move there. I was like, people are going to explode after they see this. I was like, Twitter is going to erupt. Like people are going to be like, this is unbelievable because he had already had Jonnu Smith at that point. So we were like, oh, that's pretty good. Like that's a good tight end. Like that's one of the best tight ends he could have gotten. Then Hunter Henry comes along and I'm like, wow, they're not stopping. They're full foot. They're like full foot on the gas right now, like going all in free agency as they should. And I was like, you do you, Belichick. Like keep making those moves, please.
Yeah. And you go back to that Monday night game against the Bills where he throws the phone when you see him throw the phone. And Louis Riddick literally basically said it himself. He's like, you guys, I'm telling you now, Bill Belichick is going to spend, he's going to upgrade, and you guys will be sorry. Everybody laughed in his face, and look what happened. And in the draft, you know what? I'm going to say this. I think the best thing to happen to the Patriots franchise is getting rid of Nick Casario. I think when Nick Casario left, I feel like he's very conservative, and Bill Belichick is a guy who, you know what, is very hard-headed. He has his thoughts on things, but he let his scouting department and our new general manager, Dave Ziegler, get into it, and look what happened. In one offseason already, upgraded, spent the money, and Robert Kraft, to me, Robert Kraft is the best owner in sports. He is. Robert Kraft, especially reading that book and what he had to go through to even purchase this team is crazy. And, you know, he even said to Bill, go do what you got to do. And Robert Kraft sitting in his box, sitting like this, it's just not, you're used to Robert Kraft smiling and him and Jonathan always being happy. And this year, now brighter times are coming. And I'm going to tell you this. That game, Gabby, you have to come, and I repeat it, you have to come to Patriots Buccaneers. That game, I feel like everybody and their mother is going to be at this game. And
that actually leads well into the next topic that I was going to bring up anyway, which is how the schedule is coming out tomorrow, which is super exciting because I am very, very excited. I'm hearing rumors about that game being a Thanksgiving game. The Patriots Bucks game. I'm not sure if that's definitely what it's going to be, but a couple people I saw were saying things like that on Twitter about how they were going to make Patriots Bucks a Thanksgiving night game.
Yeah, I've heard that too. Here's what I also heard: it could be week 4. Sunday night. It's going to definitely be Sunday Night Football. Definitely,
it has to be a primetime game. There's no way. That's probably going to be the most watched game of the season for any fan.
That's going to be the best.
Why would you, even if you're not a fan of one of those two teams, why would you not want to watch Brady's return to Foxborough?
Exactly. 100%. And listen, Brady and Belichick, it's the greatest coach of all time, the greatest quarterback of all time going up against each other. Who's better? Tom just won a Super Bowl and Bill is pissed. And listen, if there's anybody who knows Tom, it's Bill. And if there's anyone who knows Bill, it's Tom. I'm going to tell you this. Both teams, Tom's going to put up points. I do think it's true. And if you watch tape, Tom Brady struggles against Stephon Gilmore. So throwing his way, Stephon Gilmore has Brady's number. If you watch the tape, because I've actually watched that, and Gilmore really gets to Brady. So glad we still have him and we didn't trade him, thank you, because I love Stephon Gilmore.
I know that because that was all up in the air too. So I'm really happy about that. And yeah, I mean, I'm super excited for that game. And like you said, I mean, nobody knows Tom better than Bill. So you know that he's going to have his team prepared. And I do think that's going to be a competitive game. I really hope that the Patriots come out on top. It'd be great to come out on top at home. It's going to be kind of a bittersweet thing because if the Bucks win, I'm never like super upset if Brady wins because I still want to see him succeed. I mean, I was rooting for them in the Super Bowl last year. I wanted them to win, but obviously it's Patriots first always. So I'm obviously always going to be cheering for the Patriots, but that's going to be the best game of the year. I think that's going to be the most watched game of the year, no matter who your team is, because who doesn't want to see that, you know?
Of course. And it's going to be the hottest ticket, the most expensive ticket. I know that for a fact. But the schedule tomorrow dropping, I can't wait for it. I want to go to a couple games, actually. But Patriots, Buccaneers, I'm going to say this. I don't think it's Thanksgiving. I'm not. I think it's going to be week 4. That's what I'm going to go with, week 4. And I'm going to tell you this. That game is, Gronk coming back. Gronk hasn't spoken to Bill since the trade.
Yeah, I know. That's going to be interesting.
Yeah. And the one thing, too, is, listen, Bill's game plan is going to be go get him. And Bill is going to have has the defense prepared. Tom will get the ball out quick. Tom's going to try to stretch the field, try to get it to his receivers, but we have the personnel on defense to stick with these receivers and to go get them. Because our pass rush now, if you watch, the Buccaneers offensive line was very hot and cold during the regular season. During the Super Bowl and the playoffs, Brady didn't get touched. But I will tell you this, with what we added in Matthew Judon especially and Perkins, I'm telling you, Brady is going to be, and the way to get Brady is to pressure him up the middle. And what better way than when we added Devon Gottschall and Christian Barmore now right up the middle, he's in trouble. So I'm telling you this, the one thing, it's not going to be easy. It's going to be a tough game. I'm telling you this, that game, I'm even going to say this too. I'll say this on air right now for everyone to hear this. Tom Brady is a god to me, but that day you will see me for the first time in my entire life that I will cheer when Brady gets sacked. I will say this, Tom Brady is the enemy for the next 60 minutes. If he's completing every pass and doing what he does in this comeback fashion, I'm going to get pissed, but we all know what to expect. But I'm telling you this, after the game, it's all love for Tom, of course. But I will tell you this, that they will definitely do a video tribute to Tom. It's definitely going to be like, I want to go to the game and hold a sign that says, "Thank you for everything, Tom, but today you're my enemy." That's what I will literally like. It's not Tom, it's Patriots for me. Like, if Tom gets sacked, I'm going nuts. I'm going to be like,
me too.
I've been to Patriots games and I've heard people be like, Patriots fans be like, "Throw it, pretty boy." And I'm like, why are you bashing Tom like that? Come on.
Yeah, he's your quarterback that you had for 20 years, and he got us 6 Super Bowl championships. So how do you bash the guy?
Yeah, makes no sense to me when I heard that. No, it makes just. But the schedule dropping tomorrow, I'm really excited about that.
That game's gonna feel like a playoff game. It's gonna have playoff game vibes. I mean, maybe even Super Bowl vibes, because it's gonna be that exciting. I mean, it's gonna be really, tense. There's going to be, I think there's going to be a lot of tension surrounding that game, and people are going to be on the edge of their seats the whole time. And I think it's really going to feel like a playoff game. It is.
It's going to be a playoff game atmosphere, and couldn't have asked for a better game. And also another storyline is Bruce Arians bashing Belichick. That's another thing. You don't bash the greatest of all time, And then when you go to Foxborough, you'll be sorry. I'm telling you, it's going to be. I've been talking about this game since Brady left. I'm like, when he comes back.
Yeah.
And honestly, if it was down in Tampa, it would be a lot easier. But I'm definitely going to this game. My brother and I are diehard Patriots fans. He has a lot of friends in Boston, so we're all going to that. I'm telling you, you have to go to this game. Like,
I will try. Yeah.
And it's going to, I can't wait for that. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, even if that's the only game I go to, that's the one I would want to go to more than any other game. So I'll definitely try to make that work, because I'm going to have to be there with you guys. I think that'd be fun.
Honestly, you know what? If we could get the group tickets, I'll tell you about it too, and we'll just meet. I have to fly up to Logan Airport for the first time, which is going to be interesting, and that would be really fun.
Yeah, it's going to be a great time, and just seeing how everybody reacts to certain things going on in that game. And I think there are going to be people in the stadium that are cheering for Brady instead of the Patriots, and I think it's just going to be interesting to see which side people take, because I know some people are going to be very, very, very torn. So that's going to be super fun, and I'm looking forward to it. But what other matchups are you particularly looking forward to with the Patriots? I mean, I think they're obviously, those division matchups are always fun and always close, and they're going to have competitive games against the Bills this year, I think, who I do still think will win the division. Mm-hmm. But now that the Patriots improved in the offseason, and they already had competitive games against them last year. I think this is going to be a really fun season with the division itself. Because, I mean, the Dolphins, they could be pretty good still. I mean, obviously their quarterback situation is another questionable one, but I think the division this year is going to be a very, very fun because the Patriots are going to be back in the mix again.
Of course. Games I'm looking forward to is division matchups, of course, getting back against the Bills. I want to, get redemption from last year.
Yeah.
No one talks about this. The 17th game. There's 17 games this year, and it's going to be we play Dallas. So if
that's going to be fun.
Yeah, and we're seeing Dallas. You know what? Dak's coming back. They added. Want to see what's going on. So I'm excited for that, and it's going to be really fun. We're playing the Falcons again.
Yeah.
We play the NFC South, so playing the Drew Breesless Saints is going to be something to watch too.
Yeah, I kind of wish that he was still going to be there for this year, just because I think it would have been fun to play the Saints with him there.
Yeah.
But it's going to be interesting to see how they do this year without him, because, I mean, it's going to be an adjustment for them too.
Oh, yeah, of course. It's going to be very, very interesting to see what happens with the Saints. The Patriots schedule is the 6th easiest too. That's another thing. Yeah. So should work out in the Patriots' favor. So fingers crossed.
Yeah, I'm so excited for tomorrow. I'm excited to see when these games are scheduled. And, because the earlier we know about when Patriots Bucks is, the more hype surrounding that game there's going to be. So I'm really excited for tomorrow and just knowing when we're playing each team. And I am excited about that 17th game. I think it's going to be, some people don't like it, but I mean, that could be really beneficial to a lot of teams. I mean, that could be the type of situation where if the Patriots are really, really close and they're on that bubble to get a wild card spot, and there's a couple other teams that maybe are right in that mix, that 17th game could be really beneficial to help them lock that in.
Oh, absolutely. That game could be the make or break if we need a playoff spot. So yeah, it's going, like I said, the schedule when it drops tomorrow, I can't wait to see when we have a bye week, because I don't like early bye weeks. I like right in the middle.
Yeah, me too.
That helps out too with players getting the right amount of rest. So I'm telling you, it's going to be exciting tomorrow, 8 o'clock. Definitely go. I'm thinking of going live for that to see what we got. It's going to be interesting. I know I'm definitely going to be talking to you about games. I'll be like, we'll see if we got all that right. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, it's going to be really fun. And the season is going to be fun, and just going back to normalcy with the season and without just all the COVID craziness, and just feeling more normal and having actual full stadiums, which is going to be beautiful. So there's a lot of hype surrounding this season already. And you touched on so much of it. There's a lot to be excited about with the Patriots, and we'll see what they do. And I think we're going to see a playoff team this year, which is very, very promising and really exciting. And I think the AFC, there's a lot of teams that are going to be good this year that are going to be fun to watch. And obviously I still think Kansas City is going to be probably the toughest team in the AFC. But there's plenty of other teams that I could see. I mean, the Bills, the Cleveland. I mean, that team, I wouldn't sleep on them either. Yeah, so there's other teams that I could see being up there too. So it's going to be a fun. I'm intrigued by how Carson Wentz does with the Colts. So that's an intriguing storyline to me too. So there's a lot going into this NFL season, and then also obviously keeping track of where Aaron Rodgers ends up if he doesn't stay there, which is the biggest one right now. So there's a lot with this season that is to look forward to, and for football fans to just be excited about. And I'm ready. I'm already ready for football season. I know I still have to wait, but I'm already ready for it. I'm super excited, and we'll see what happens. But I do appreciate you joining me on the show today.
My pleasure.
I always enjoy our conversations, and I enjoy watching you post on Twitter. I do recommend everybody check Bobby's content out and follow him on social media. He does a lot of very, very good football coverage. And so just let everybody know where they can find you and where they can find your show.
Yep. So my personal Twitter is bthompson81. I also do Grunt Talks NFL. I post stuff on there as well. Everyone, I got to give a shout out to we always call my brother, Julian Gallardi. Follow him at Julian Gallardi.
Shout out.
Yep.
He does a lot of good baseball coverage, so everybody follow him too.
Yep. Yes, he does. Follow Grunt Talks MLB, our website, grunttalksmlb.com. Follow our YouTube page at Grunt Talks GT Sports. That's where you can find all of our content. And Gabby, thank you for having me on. This was awesome. And literally during the season, I'm telling you, I think if you ever want me on, no matter what the time is, what the day, I will be here. I love it. Boston Balling, everybody check this out. This is up and coming. I love it. The logo is great. The content is great. When you get Mike Reese, who is the Patriots ESPN reporter, who literally, when I saw that, it was awesome. Like everybody, when I learned about Gabby from our friend Nathan, you know what, I had to have you on. But thank you for being such a good friend, Gabby, and you know what, always being there. It's awesome. Keep up your great work because you're doing absolutely tremendous in everything you do. I tell everybody who loves podcasts to listen to Boston Balling. I'm a huge supporter of Boston Balling.
Thank you. I very much appreciate all of that. It's been a lot of fun doing the show, and I appreciate everybody tuning in every week and just supporting all the time, because I wouldn't be where I am without everybody supporting the show. So you all know where to find it. It's the same, the social media handles and any podcast streaming platform, or just, how to share the show. So I appreciate everybody always tuning in and for always just supporting the show and commenting and just leaving reviews and everything like that. So thank you to everybody again. And I look forward to next week, and I will see you all then. Have a great rest of your week, everyone.
Yep. Thank you so much for everything, Gabby.